Iowa Public Television would not be today what it is had it not been for Dan Miller.
When I think of Dan Miller, I think of a person who walked the line of integrity and enforced that on those with whom he was leading.
When you work in an organization like public broadcasting, you have pressures that come from many different places. And so your compass has to be set very carefully, and you need to follow it. And that's what Dan did.
I don't know where Iowa Public Television would be. It wouldn't be the powerhouse that it is now. There's no debate about that. It would be a very, very different network if it wasn't for Dan Miller.
Let me play devil's advocate for a moment.
I'm going to turn to another member of our convention coverage team, Dan Miller, who was up very late last night covering a district caucus.
Dan Miller was extremely proud of Iowa Public Television and the influence. He saw potential.
A couple of weeks ago, you told our network that you believed that your words, public service, was the place that you thought you should make your contribution. What is it that Bob Ray wants to be remembered for?
Dan Miller was an intellectual.
How do you go about convincing a public that has always treated its prisons as out of sight and out of mind that they need to think about it a little bit more?
He was extremely defensive of the independence of Iowa Public Television.
Now, is that fair? Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes, it is a fair thing to say.
He also understood that the function of journalism is to serve the community. And in the case of Iowa and Iowa Public Television, it was making this state a better place to live in everything that's done, the arts, cultural things, politics, trying to inform people and move this state forward.
Many times after a program, I would either seek Dan out or call him on the telephone afterwards and ask him about his evaluation of that program. And he was never bashful about critiquing when I sought it, and sometimes when I didn't seek it.
He wanted the Iowa Press Show to move along. And what will stand out in my mind is if we weren't being sharp enough, we weren't being pointed enough, he was in this little earpiece, snoring, wake me up when it's over, letting us know that we needed to step up our game up there. And I will always remember getting that little wake-up call every now and then.
Hello, I'm Dan Miller, Director of Programming for Iowa Public Television. Beginning March 3rd, this stage will be alive with the sights and sounds of festival. Iowa Public Television's 2-week programming spectacular, showcasing the very finest of what this network has to offer.
As program director, Dan Miller assumed many duties, including hosting efforts during annual PBS pledge drives. His colleagues would later surprise him in studio with one of his favorite IPTV guests and Dan's mother.
And here comes the two-legged dog, Rusty, the two-legged dog that Dan is...
My goodness!
Who heard it? They did on Living in Iowa, this incredible two-legged dog. It is a dog that has a show that has received more comments than anything they've done, and we knew this was his birthday, and Danny just loves this dog. Danny was always the perfect child.
Perfect. He was the youngest and perfect. Absolutely. We expected him on St. Patrick's Day, but as always, 2 days late.
Yeah, and he's been that way ever since.
Well, I thought I better tell it tonight.
He really put Iowa Public Television on the map nationally, I would say, with PBS, CPB, APTS. I mean, people really started talking about Iowa Public Television when he became GM.
I was always struck by his intellect, by his, frankly, his intellectual curiosity, but also his kind and beautiful heart. He really touched so many people in our industry, and there are many of us who are always beholden to his great joy in life.
Very colorful guy, quite profane, although very careful about not doing it around all these microphones.
Dan meant the world to me. I would say that he was almost like another father to me, but he would be so mad if I said that because he was, he's not that much older than me. So, I would say he's like a big brother.
What would Iowa Public Television have been without Dan Miller? I don't think as effective, nearly as effective as it is today in tying Iowans together and letting them know the various things that are going on in this state and instilling a lot of pride in Iowans.